Welcome to the first episode of Show Me the Firo. I am your host, Firo Fiend. I want to welcome our highly esteemed project steward, Reuben Yap.
Good morning. Pleasure to be here. And, this is the first episode of Firo Fiends and really excited to be here. Yeah.
Now, I know you've covered a lot of this stuff before, Reuben. Did you want to briefly outline what it is you do for the project, like what your duties are?
I mean, basically, the project steward is, we take care basically of the day-to-day runnings. And that's, from making sure we have researchers, developers, also generally guiding the direction of the project, soliciting community opinions. So yeah, a lot of the stuff that happens behind the scenes, and as the title implies, I'm a steward. I look after the project on behalf of the community, and therefore, I guess serve at the pleasure of the Firo fam.
And Reuben is actually very modest because I know for a fact he does a lot more behind the scenes to support Firo than he's just said right now. So I'm very grateful, and I'm sure everyone else watching this is too. What was it about privacy coins and Firo in particular have you experienced, perhaps maybe in your business?
I started a VPN business called Bole VPN, and back then it was just like something to be able to use torrents, because our government started like blocking torrents, or at least like throttling them.
Right.
And even if they were legal, like even my World of Warcraft P2P updates were also very slow.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of how it all started, and that's also how I got into crypto, because running a VPN service back then, kind of like how cryptocurrency or even privacy cryptocurrencies are today, where it's kind of like taboo, like, oh, you must be doing something illegal, and therefore, even though you're not. And VPNs were kind of classified as high risk. Of course, nowadays, people see as part of a, essential tool that people use for, along with the antivirus and stuff like that. But back then, VPNs were kind of in the same position privacy coins are today. And we were cut off from a lot of payment platforms. We couldn't do 2Checkout, PayPal kept on suspending us. We couldn't set credit cards. We cut off and had to keep on finding new solutions. As a result, someone was saying like, look, you're doing a privacy service. Why don't you accept Bitcoin? Because back then people thought Bitcoin was private. And I was like, well, okay, can I convert it to fiat? And I found a way to do that. And that's when I started accepting basically cryptocurrency back in early 2013.
The interesting part is you actually cut off from your payment processes, right?
That's right.
And
yes.
Did they give you a reason?
Yeah, they say that this is a high risk category. They place us in the same category as like adult content and things like that.
So what we're seeing actually become increasingly more prevalent around the world, right, is this thing known as reputational risk, right? Where you can have a perfectly legal business.
Yeah.
However, it's unpopular for any given reason, right? Maybe it's
no, sex work. That's one of them.
It could be any number of reasons that for some reason is seen as unsightly or distasteful in some way to someone, right? But they're not doing anything wrong, but they're being essentially shunned and segregated. And I kind of was thinking, essentially what happens is when you have a radically transparent technology like Bitcoin, or it could be any other currency, right? Cryptocurrency that's not essentially fungible, is that presents, particularly in this, as time goes on, we're seeing a lot more surveillance, coin analysis, and these things. Over-the-counter desks, for instance, pay more for virgin Bitcoins than they do for ones with history, right? So we're all seeing the pressure there, because the thing is, once this information is available, people will use it, right? You can't not use this information. If you have information that someone is perhaps maybe going to bring reputational risk to you, then you'll be a fool not to use it, right? However, let's say, for instance, the problem where this leads to is, say I have a 60s Mustang for sale, right? And I place an advert. And so Reuben, calls me and says, hey, is this muscle car still available? And I say, yeah, come on over, take a look. And in my ad, I place crypto only, right? Because I don't trust this paper stuff anymore. So off you come to the house and look around the car, decide that you like it, you want to buy it. And you look like, you're well-dressed, you're polite, articulate. I don't suspect anything. And I just happen to say, hey, Reuben, by the way, what do you do? You say, I run a VPN business. Now, all of a sudden, I'm thinking, oh, great. He's probably paying with Bitcoin, tainted ones that he's received from his VPN service. I'm not sure now I want to accept his money because I don't know if I can get it to an exchange. If not now, that is probably a potential for the future, right?
Yeah, look, my average ticket size is not a lot. It's like, 10 USD and most like 130 US dollars. This really unlikely for like any serious type of money laundering to go on. And yet, if I receive any sort of tainted stuff, or I suddenly have to answer for it, and it's what the logical business decision to do if you were not, I guess, like ideologically motivated is like, I'm gonna stop accepting these type of crypto or from whatever from people that I don't know. I'm only gonna go for this, and basically I'm just cutting off a whole section, right?
Because the problem essentially really is you're not just, when a customer buys your VPN service, they're not just transferring value, they're transferring their reputation with them, right? So it seems like if you was to buy my car and you just told me that you run a VPN service, now I'm going to request a fungible coin, right? I'm going to say, well, you can buy it, but you need to convert it into something that is worth its face value, that I know that I don't have to encounter risk, because essentially is someone who accepts payment and you're accepting, the reputation, you're also now accepting risk just for accepting the payment.
A very good example is something that I experienced personally, where I was renting a place. So, I mean, it's very similar to almost someone using your internet connection and then you having the answer for that usage of the internet connection. Like what I did was I rented one of the houses I had to some students, all right? And basically they did some really dodgy stuff. As a result, the police came banging at my door, asking me to, show what have I been doing. And I, this was saying I was,
You've just broke up. I think
right.
It's hopefully it's not your VPN service.
No, it's not. I no longer run that. In Malaysia, if any sort of activity comes from your IP address, and this was just like, it wasn't even my house IP address. It was just, I set up a house, rent a house, I put the internet for someone to use, and then there's a reverse burden of proof. I have to prove that I didn't do it, rather than they have to prove that I did it. So
essentially,
that's
really
kind of similar.
Yeah. So you kind of need essentially privacy actually to protect the innocent, not just people looking to do shady things. It's for people, law-abiding citizens that are going about their business and want to conduct business. They don't want to have to deal with associated risks and having to be questioned about these things that really shouldn't even be a factor. They shouldn't have to think about. And if they do have to think about, they're probably not going to use that form of payment unless there's literally nothing else, because who wants that hassle, right? So it's a bit similar to, I think I've heard you say before, if crypto is to become mainstream, then there needs to be privacy, right? And that was
I mean, it's obvious.
So I began to research privacy projects and coins, and my brother is actually responsible. I'll refer to him as Brother Jay, for actually recommending Firo to me, the whole eloquent solution of burning a coin and redeeming a brand new one. I thought that was genius. And then some time went by, and my brother had told me, when it goes below $5, it's a bargain. Buy it when it goes below $5. So sure enough, it went below $5, right? So I bought some Firo, and now I had actually bought some. I figured I'd go to the website and begin to research the little bit I had bought. So I looked at the roadmap, and the roadmap I was pretty impressed with, and I just thought this has got so much potential. And then the price went down a little more. So I figured, I guess I'm dollar cost averaging right now, right? So I begin to like buy a little bit more as the price is going down, 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 down. So anyway, I thought I'd done all my due diligence. I'd researched you a little bit. I'd researched the project, checked out the roadmap, checked out the history of terms of how you deliver on, you know, the roadmap, so to speak, on goals. And then I thought, now I've got this Firo and I'm part of this ecosystem. Maybe I should check out the Firo chat. Got on Discord, and you know the scene from Saving Private Ryan, the beach scene. They make loads of memes out of it, right? Limbs are flying off. It shows
basically like, the Normandy invasion, right?
That's right. I went on the beaches, so you really see like the horrors of war, right? And my experience was worse than that. It was.
When was this? This was in 2020.
That's it, around that time when it was getting to just below 3, people were like freaking out. And the worst of it all, right, was the meme sucked.
Yeah.
Now that sounds superficial, right? But I look at the memes like as a way of judging the community in terms of like their enthusiasm, their spirit, resilience, you know, the whole fun thing.
Yeah, the meme game has to go better, right?
It does have to go better. But so anyway, that scared me. And then, you know, I thought, well, I'm here now, right? So I begin chatting. I began to talk with people, and then over a course of like a few months, I began to notice like a change. It was like less toxic. It's still bad, but less toxic, less toxic, less toxic. And then it got to a point where I began spending more and more time actually bothering to write things that I thought were intelligent anyway. Don't know whether they were or not, but I actually put the effort into actually contributing and talking to people instead of just trolling.
I think you were the one of the few people that that criticized my production qualities, which was fair comment.
Well, I did it because I cared, right? I was like,
yes.
Now I'm on this team, we better try and win, right? So and they've got much better now. And so anyway, I began to notice a shift just recently. I mean, it's been going on for quite a few months already, but the team has really begun to step up. I mean, first of all, I mean, there's some big things that I want to touch upon, but the first one is he was one of the first I noticed, and is Alvio, and he's been making iRacing Firo Cup skins for a long time.
Right, yeah, I remember seeing those.
Absolutely dedicated. And then we got
make sure you show a picture in the post-production.
Yes, yeah. I will. And yeah, a lot of gratitude to him. And also, if anyone else wants to create game skins, it'd be welcomed, right? Because it's probably great advertising, really. You know, at least people have seen the logo. That's it. I need a shirt, God damn it. That needs to be
yes, definitely.
A community proposal. Maybe I'll put my little Firo address down to donate for a shirt.
You actually can get one from cypherstack.com. Cypher. No, there's a website with a lot of our merchandise there with some really nice stuff. But I'll send you one. Don't worry.
Oh, yeah. Make it extra large. Well, actually, send me a large and then a medium. And then when I've lost weight, I'll be able to fit in the medium. But yeah, the other one that really stepped up in terms of help community spirit and grow the community is the Firo Runner. Right, a lot of people had a lot of fun with that. I mean, we had, I don't know how to pronounce his name, but Lozor got some real high
Lauzor or something like that. Yeah,
that's right. And then it was Forrest Gump.
Yeah, I think the winners of this week were just determined. I haven't seen the scores, but
the last time I looked, anyway, he was highest on the leaderboard, so he'd done really good. Who was responsible, by the way, for Firo Runner? Who did that?
So it was actually this side project that. You know, we had some spare funds. This thing obviously didn't cost a lot of money, but we were like thinking,
but it's fun. It's fun, right?
It's fun, that's right? And we realized that, you know, if there were easy, fun ways to use your Firo and play Firo, this is obviously just like a prototype, like a test, right? And the game itself, although it's fun, there's a lot of stuff that can be worked on. So we engaged CipherStack to do it. And it's basically an endless runner. There's a tournament mode where you can put Firo in, and the top people basically earn the pot, right? And I think it's pretty good. I think obviously all the code is open source, so anyone can just look at it and even make improvements to it. Like you want to see some features. There was even some talk about using your Firo Punks NFT and using it as a skin for the game, and that would be pretty cool. So
that would be cool. I've got another brother. I'll refer to him also as brother Jay because they all begin with J. And he was like a like I'd call him a gaming addict, and also he's just beginning to get into crypto too, right? So I actually sent him over the link to like Firo Runner, and I was like,
yeah,
hey brother Jay, try this, see if you're like any good at it. There's a big pot of Firo at the end.
yeah.
Unfortunately, he was mediocre. The other one I wanted to mention and that I really enjoyed is Fahim with the introduction of Firo Punks, right?
That's right.
He's another community member that really has just stepped up and got stuff done. And that's led to a lot of activity in terms of people buying or minting these Firo Punks and then trading them and playing the game, right? Because it's a bit like Top Trumps. So
you can use the Firo Punks to battle each other.
Yeah,
I think it was again, it's like kind of like proof of concept. And one thing to clarify, there was apparently like some misunderstanding. First of all, this was a completely community project. Like the core team had nothing to do with this. Fahim did this on his own with his own resources, with his own developers and artists. So that's like we didn't pay a single cent. So and he decided to do that for Firo. So shout out so that there was nothing that came from the core team. I think the only assistance that we gave, is that we use our socials to obviously show the good work that he's been doing, and we also spoke to the guys at the Binance NFT team to get Firo Punks listed as a collection that people could do secondary trades on the Binance NFT marketplace. So those were the only two things he did, and like right now there are I think a couple of hundred Firo Punks left to mint. And all proceeds, Fahim very generously said that all proceeds from all those mints will go to the Firo core team. So already 600 Firo has been given to the core team, which really helps us, especially during this time. And it's set to grow for anyone who does buys any Firo Punks from the website at FiroPunks.com.
And was you going to do a demonstration, Reuben, of FiroDex?
So to give a explanation of what FiroDex is. Of course, Dex means decentralized exchange, but there are some very key differences than DEXs that people may be used to. Like for example, people maybe have used Uniswap, PancakeSwap, all this type of what we call automated market maker, AMM type of DEXs. And the problem with this type of DEXs is that they tend to be single chain, like Ethereum, BSC. There are very maybe there's like multi-chain and then a couple of others, but for the most part, it's like single ecosystem. That DEX only deals with ERC20 tokens or whatever, right? Yeah. FiroDex is cross-chain. That means it connects to so many chains. Any UTXO coin, that means like Bitcoin, Dogecoin, Litecoin, Komodo, all of these are UTXO coins. It can do all of that. It can also swap with Avalanche, BSC, Ethereum. I think Arbitrum is coming. Many others. So like it's really cross-chain. And
so this is also great for censorship resistance, right?
Correct.
No more you're at the mercy, so to speak, of the centralized exchanges.
And definitely, just to tell you, like this, unlike some other decentralized exchanges, which I would call pseudo decentralized exchanges, like anyone can run like the infrastructure for this. You spin up a node and stuff, and you are already like contributing to the network infrastructure. There's no like centralized like server, so you have to take down a lot of servers to actually like bring this thing down. It's also totally non-custodial, means that it's P2P because it's doing atomic swaps. So
peer-to-peer, right? For the crypto noob out there, it's just from one person to another person. There's no middleman.
Correct. Yeah, that means there's no exchange to hold your coins. It's so that's great. There's no like legal requirements because once you have custody, that's some stuff. So let me just give that a show. Let me share my screen. Yeah, so this is like the FiroDex. You can download it from our GitHub link, which is currently in like beta, but it's actually fully functional. I've been using it for quite a lot of trades. So it all the basic functions work, but if there's still little like quirks and niggles, it's still in beta. It's still a work in progress, but everything works. There are two ways you can like kind of play with this, either in the simple mode or the pro mode. I personally prefer the pro mode just because there's much more control.
Yeah.
So let's take a look here. Sell Firo, buy Firo, right?
Yeah.
And now I'm selling the native Firo, which is the UTXO Firo, to get BEP20 Firo, right? And
So
you
we've
just
got
select it there.
the Binance Smart Chain Firo. Yeah.
Why zero price is because, well, the BEP20 Firo exists on Binance only, so it can't really pull up a price. It's probably a quirk in the system. But let's swap 10 Firo, right? And you can see the centralized exchange rate, 1 Firo is 1 Firo, right?
Yeah.
But when I am selling it here, I select the order and the price that I want. That gets automatically filled up, right?
Yeah.
So I can see there's 1,500 Firo available for me to swap the BEP21. And you can see there's a slight charge. It's 0.2%, slightly more expensive than the exchange, but no KYC, nothing, right?
Yeah.
So
I'd happily pay the 0.2% just not to have to deal with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's just place 10 Firo. Oh, it's lower than the minimum amount. So there's a minimum amount. So let's go with 16. Right? Start swap. So there's about $50 worth.
Yeah.
Right? Swap. You can reduce, if you want a faster swap, you can reduce the number of confirmations. Usually for smaller amounts, one confirmation is fine.
Yeah.
And this is for the BSC chain, right? So let's reduce that. And we'll see how long it takes. Okay, you can click here to see the details. And the trade is starting right now. So although it says like estimated 14 minutes, it probably might take a bit quicker. But you can talk about other stuff while this goes. Yeah, but basically what's happening is that it's negotiating, it's connecting, and then swapping all without an exchange. And so it's direct P2P.
Yeah, this is
so we
genius.
can talk about that.
This is genius, in my opinion, this kind of solution. And it's powered by Atomic Swap. What's it, Atomic Wallet? Is that the
Atomic Swaps? Atomic Dex, but then...
that was it.
But let's actually see. We can actually even sell Firo for Bitcoin. We just just want to try this out. We can do 2 swaps at a time. So we see you just select the order that you want, right? And I have, let's see, 102. Start swap. 1 confirmation for Bitcoin transactions. That's fine. Slightly more expensive, but that's fine. 2.4%. And now we have 2 swaps ongoing. Okay.
That's pretty awesome.
Swap ongoing, swap ongoing. All right, so I'll stop sharing and we'll get back to that later and we'll talk about other stuff and we'll see how long it takes. I'm
just wondering, Reuben, is there anything that, for instance, miners or masternode holders can do to actually improve that service by providing liquidity to the DEX as opposed to the centralized exchanges?
Definitely. So there is currently a tool which is kind of like semi-command line that you are able to provide liquidity to the exchange. And it's up to you how much of a spread you want. And you can even say like, I want it 1% more expensive than Binance or something like that. Oh, okay. So obviously, yeah. But there's a more easy to use like graphical version that's coming quite soon. I think in a couple one or 2 months that will make it a lot easier for this too. Because
that's what the average user is going to have to need, a nice graphical user interface so they can just click. And so
that's why it's still better.
So essentially what can happen at that point is you're going to have a lot more liquidity. So say if we've got someone that wants to like convert a lot of SD T over or Bitcoin, they could do much larger amounts as opposed to seeing that 1,500 coins it's available. They can actually.
Yes.
Right. Well, that sounds good.
Yeah, I really hope more people do this. Like, I think if everyone provides liquidity there, this could be pretty big.
Yeah,
this
because
is cross atomics.
It's not like you're selling coins that are not going to be sold anyway. I mean, what's the difference if you sell them on a DEX or on Binance? You might as well put them to the DEX and do some good for the community, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So
I think we would encourage people to use this, and yeah.
Yeah.
No KYC, direct to your wallet. Yeah.
And there's a censorship resistant part that I really like, and especially once it's like, for instance, if you want to buy the Mustang, you just do a quick swap, and you can pay me in the Firo as opposed to the non-fungible coin, right?
Oh wow, the swap. Let me just show you it again. It's completed for the other one. So you can see that it's completed in 3 minutes, right? So can you imagine? That's really, really quick, because if you think about trading on an exchange, you may think it's instant, but you have to realize that you have to deposit, wait for it to confirm, and then when you want to get it back onto your wallet, you have to withdraw, right? And all that is time. So, and that easily takes half an hour or so.
Depending on the coin that you're putting into the exchange, you've got to wait for a lot of confirmation sometimes, or a lot of time.
Correct. So yeah, this completed way before time, and now I have a Firo BEP20 in my wallet.
What have we got next on the agenda?
Maybe just touch very briefly. We can cover in other episodes of this, but would be good to just talk a little bit about the ongoing discussions in the forums. I think there are several there.
It seems like you lit a campfire under the community's ass, Reuben.
It wasn't the intention, but I did expect debate and heated debate, and that's kind of what it's about. I mean, like, before we even talk about it, I just kind of want to share my view that people should not be thinking like we are like Bitcoin. Like, first of all, we aren't like Bitcoin, right? If we are developing all this cutting edge privacy tech and whatnot, we have the ability to change, right? Similarly, with our tokenomics, we have changed it obviously all the time with community feedback. And the community feedback period has been very long in the past time. Like, it was like more, some of them like even over a year, right? I don't know. We'll see how long this one takes. Generally, as long as we can get a clear consensus on a certain path, we will go down that. If we don't get any clear consensus, most likely we won't change. So if there's a very, very clear, we wouldn't say like 50% or something like that, because it's very hard to quantify. But if there's a clear consensus that people want to move to, then we will move. But if there isn't a clear consensus, then the status quo remains. So maybe you want to talk a bit about those proposals, because I think people have to stop talking about Bitcoin never changes and stuff like that, because I do feel maybe 10, 20 years down the line, they will have to start changing.
Yeah. No, well, I was an advocate in your first proposal. If you could go to the forum, you'll see it, and tokenomics, right?
Yeah, the tokenomics forum.
Yeah. And your first proposal, what was it, around 50-something% towards to go from the miners? Yeah, to go to the nodes. And then the miners were going to be left with, was it 20?
Something like that. Yeah.
Right. And then the dev fund was going to stay the same.
Yes.
I made the case for increasing it, but I can see why the optics you would like to keep them the same.
Yeah.
Also, the only reason I would even suggest that is because I just think you know where to deploy capital to make it most effective. But you are right, in the community needs to actually step up and begin to make these decisions and learn to stand on its own 2 feet when there isn't a dev team, right? And well, my counter suggestion, obviously, that was to go for a much higher masternode reward, due to the fact that masternodes are providing the lion's share of security. Miners are just as needed, in terms of you need 2 functions for the blockchain to work, right? You need someone to create the blocks and someone to confirm them, right?
Yeah.
And the reason why I wanted also is the higher masternode reward was really just to, first of all, drive demand for Firo. I figured that would both drive existing users and new users looking for yield to at least tempt them into the project. From there, that would dry up supply, relieve sell pressure, and increase demand and buy pressure. That would then hopefully increase the price. With an increased price now, it means that the development team have more resources to devote to development and getting deadlines met, and maybe using side projects like the Firo runners and things that really can have the chance of adding much more value to the project once the fundamentals are there. For instance, whether it's exchange support, liquidity on the FiroDexes and things like that, or it's development of the Campfire wallet, which I didn't think we talked too much about, or not at all, but that is something I'm particularly excited about. And with some development on that, I mean, that could just make huge waves, I think, for Firo in terms of attracting the Dogecoin users just to use the wallet, and then they're also exposed to Firo. So it could, particularly if it's a multi-coin wallet, so it could be a great resource for just attracting people to the ecosystem, and then at some point giving them the ability, hopefully, to mint privatized assets, essentially private dogs on Elysium, things like that, right? I think that has a huge use case potential. But all of them,
I was thinking that we should call the privacy dog coin like Reba.
I
love that.
I saw that on Telegram, and I actually thought that was genius. I was like, oh yeah, that's the best day for a privacy dog coin. Yeah, but the whole thing also is because you're bringing in new people and people are beginning to feel optimistic, that then people's like limit, that their ceiling of where they think Firo can go, that begins to raise, to lift up. So people begin to have higher expectations. They feel positive. The positivity, breeds positivity. Is what was it? Someone said, strength begets strength. So essentially, the stronger people feel the community is, the more confidence they have, and the better the community does. And then, of course, now they feel more confident because they, the project's doing better. They're not depressed when they look at their wallet.
I mean, like, obviously, I think
even though that's superficial, that
it's not superficial. Unfortunately, like, the way this market works is that perception is got a lot to do with it, right? And
it's my opinion that whatever we can do without really sacrificing our core values, we're not sacrificing any of our core values as a community personally. Whatever we could do to give ourselves the best shot of being relevant, right? Because that's what Firo actually needs to be, is relevant for when the time comes and people call on the Firo project, either because they need to or they just like the project, right? And so it needs to remain relevant. And to do that, it needs some kind of stimulus, in my opinion, some kind of like adrenaline shot or something, just to bump it up. And then once there's that momentum, then we can go to essentially new heights in terms of both attracting new people to the project. Because guess what? When someone's investment is way down, do you think they tell their friends about it? No. The only time they're talking to their friends is if they've made a good investment. They feel that they've been smart. They chose a good project. Hey, you should get on this because it's a good thing. And personally, I can tell people like my brother or family to actually invest because I believed in it, and I still do. And I know it's a good project. Whether or not it will ultimately be successful really depends on the community, I believe, because that's where the value is derived from, is the network.
I really think that people have to stop. I mean, to be completely frank, the main point of what I was actually trying to drive with this tokenomics proposal was not so much the division between the masternodes and the miners. I think there's been too much discussion just about masternode versus miners, right? When the key thing for me is actually the community fund, because we realize that having the dev reward is kind of like after, we couldn't have known this from the beginning, but now we know what happens is that because there's a development fund, people expect the core team to do everything, like everything, like marketing, PR, market making, development, everything,
Liquidity,
and
yeah.
yes, everything. So and like find and this is because that most coins launched in the past 2 or 3 years are set up like that, whereby dev teams, although they may allocate themselves a 15% or even let's say 10%, but they actually have more because they have an ecosystem fund of 30%. They have a liquidity incentive fund of 20%. So it may actually be like more like 70-80% in the control of the team or like related things, right? And they get it upfront. This thing can be actually, of course, some of them may be vested, but a lot of this they get it upfront, and therefore they are free to use it. So we are competing against projects that have this, right? We don't. We get it in trickles, like really trickles, and
Yeah. Well, I actually completely understand that, but that's also the reason why I've been paying particular attention or pushing, at least in my opinion, is to reward the nodes, is because that does everything. That helps out the dev team, but it also makes out the community fund a lot more interesting, and actually can do more with it.
I mean, I hope that the masternodes owners would be donating. I mean, previously, it did seem that a lot of the people who donated to this were masternode holders. Like some of our audits and stuff like that. A lot of the long-term supporters. But why I wanted like a explicit community fund was to make it so that the community starts taking responsibility over the project, and ideally that once the community is now educated, you can actually seize the dev reward and have it all to the community fund. That means we have a vibrant governance system, we have a vibrant community, and now the community can push things forward without the core team. They can be still hiring us,
Well,
right?
So,
but it is
that's fine, because it would be
Yeah.
it would be a shame actually, Reuben, if you weren't part of the project, just because I think you've been an excellent contribution to the project, right? And
people can still hire us.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Use you as a consultant, essentially, right?
Right. That's
that
right.
would make sense. Well, I'm happy that, for instance, the community is actually beginning to step up, right? We're seeing signs with that.
We haven't even announced this yet because I wanted to prep it up and stuff.
Yeah.
But the idea of having this on GitHub is that anyone can open up an issue. I'm just populating them with stuff that we need help with, but anyone can open up an issue, and we want to use this as a way that people can just come to hey, I want to contribute to Firo, where can I contribute? And instead of asking around blindly, they have all these open issues that people can take and chip in, right? So this is something that I hope people would use. It's on our GitHub. It's totally open.
Have we got are we going to have a link on Discord in the other on the forum, on the Firo website and things to it, so people can find it easy?
Yeah. I mean, we're definitely changing the website a bit, rearranging content. There was actually a nice person by the name of Steven, a community member, that actually offered to help us with the website for free, and also to maybe even help build an NFT collection to reward Firo community members that give back. So I'm really excited. Yeah, so that would be really exciting.
Yeah, that's good. And really, the NFTs also represent real work too, right? Because you actually produce something that's beneficial to the project.
People are asking oh, why don't you just give people money and stuff like that? I mean, I feel that when you give money, you're creating mercenaries. Not that we are against giving money, but then I feel that we want the community to contribute because they're excited to do it. They want the recognition. They feel that their contributions are valued. And I think many studies show that people value it more, that they feel that their contribution is valued versus just a paid thing, right? I mean, Like, like for you, you're not being paid to do this, right?
No. Community effort. There we go.
That's all we have time for this week's Show Me the Firo. If you're a community member and you have some known history and would like to join the show, you are more than welcome. Just get in touch with Reuben and he'll help you out. There are a lot of exciting developments coming to Firo with Lelantus Spark, Elysium, Campfire, Helsing, and numerous other developments that we'll be discussing in the weeks to come. If there's something in particular that you would like to talk about, don't forget to leave your suggestions on the Firo chat, which can be found at firo.org/community, where you'll see links to Discord, Telegram, our forum, Twitter, and YouTube. Anyway, we look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Show Me the Firo.